Ultra-processed foods, the high in fats, starches, sugars, and additives, now make up 73% of the U.S. food supply.
That are in our foods have long been banned elsewhere.
America's a country that likes individual choice.
Most of FDA enforcement happens post-market. It's kind of like a game of whack-a-mole.
We're taking on a very powerful industry, and I think we have a right to protect our children.
Americans love to eat. They are fatally attracted to the slow death of fast food.
One of the best things that we can do for the American people and their health is change the serving sizes.
Where else can you get a 44-ounce cup of Diet Coke? A British person would faint at the sight of this. And not to mention Cheetos branded cup. Like, it does not get more American than that.
Do you see how big this coffee is? This is what is wrong with the United States right here.
This is the small. This is not a small. I think we need to reevaluate what size smalls are.
And nobody seems to notice, nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on, the fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant because the owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it.
Breaking news involving a statewide toxin testing of bread. Caleb Califano.
State leaders say they tested and found elevated levels of glyphosate, a common weed killer in several popular bread brands. Glyphosate is the main ingredient in Roundup.
A Canadian scientist has been caught in an Aaron Brockovich-like moment when he's asked to defend that chemical against links to cancer rates in Argentina.
I do not believe that glyphosate in Argentina is causing increases in cancer. You can drink a whole quart of it and it won't hurt you.
You want to drink some? We have some here.
I'd be happy to, actually, but not really. But
not really.
I know it wouldn't hurt me.
If you say so, I have some glyphosate.
No, I'm not stupid.
Okay, so you.
No, but I know
so it's dangerous.
No, people try to commit suicide with it and fail fairly regularly.
Tell the truth.
It's not dangerous to humans. No, it's not.
So you're ready to drink one glass of glyphosate?
No, I'm not an idiot.
Today, I just want to break down 5 foods that look normal, but when you look closely and actually understand how they're made, you start seeing them differently. And no, I'm not trying to feed on your fears. Let's start with the most common one, which is dairy milk.
The dairy in America is banned in other countries. Dairy in America cannot be sold in another country. All right, so it's banned in other countries. That's hugely important as well, too, because a lot of the cows are fed antibiotics because, again, the mastitis or the inflammation or infection at the breast of the cow is creating the infection, okay? So at the end of the day, what's happening to happen, they're giving you a lot of antibiotics to fight that, okay? They're also feeding these animals a lot of soy, genetically modified soy, genetically modified corn, which they're not designed to eat. Cows eat grass.
Why we grow up thinking milk is this perfect, untouchable, healthy food. Like it's just cows, grass, sunshine, and loads of happiness. But the milk sitting in your fridge, it's not that simple. First of all, it's heated at very high temperatures to kill bacteria. That part makes sense, but some of it is heated so aggressively that it can sit on a shelf for weeks without spoiling. That should already tell you this isn't fresh from the farm. Rather, it's fresh from the lab. They separate the fat, they standardize it, then they recombine it to create whole 2% skim. It's not just coming out of a cow labeled 2%. It's adjusted in a facility. Also, milk is designed to grow a baby cow from about 60 pounds to hundreds of pounds very fast. It's a growth liquid. It contains natural hormones and growth factors for that purpose. We just casually drink it every day and act like that's normal. Even Dr. Bobby Price talks against dairy because of this very reason.
It's going to make cysts grow in your body as well, too. And that's what we don't realize, even when you're consuming milk that doesn't have hormones in it.
So clearly, we don't need it. And it's really absurd to argue that any mammal needs to drink the milk of another species. That's just absurd on its face.
I'm sure you're at the edge of your seat after hearing this, but you're going to be more riled up after hearing the next thing on our list, which is liquid sugar. Can I ask you something? When was the last time you drank soda? or juice or iced coffee and actually thought, yeah, I just drank a lot of sugar.
Liquid sugar, not just soda, talking about juice too. Both of these products are just as bad. They both have roughly the same amount of sugar. The juice has a little more sugar.
Probably never, because when it's in a cup, it doesn't feel serious. If I gave you a bowl with like 10 to 12 teaspoons of sugar in it and said, eat this, you'd look at me like I'm crazy. But that's literally what's inside most of these drinks, and we finish them in minutes.
And then we get apple juice. Apple juice has 264 grams of sugar. I mean, how many kids at parties, at the school, they're drinking the apple juice thinking it's better than soda, when in fact, it seems to be, it has more sugar. Both of these combined right here.
And the weird part, your body doesn't treat liquid calories the same way it treats calories that come from solid food. When you eat something solid, you chew, your stomach stretches, your brain gets time to process what's happening. There's a pause. But when you drink sugar, it just goes straight in. No effort, no delay. Your blood sugar jumps fast, insulin jumps with it, and then a little while later, you feel tired or hungry again.
The effect of sugar is this thing called insulin. Insulin regulates sugar by getting the sugar out of the blood fast. When you take this much sugar in one sitting, for example, you're going to have massive whiplash of certain organs like your pancreas that flood that insulin and spike it to drop the sugar. And what it's doing is taking the sugar and putting it in storage as fat, triglycerides, cholesterol. Okay, that's what it's doing. So when the blood sugar goes up and your insulin goes up to counter it, you start to create fatigue within the whole system. And over time, it loses control.
That random 3 p.m. crash, a lot of times it's connected to what you drink earlier. And don't even get me started on juice, because we grew up thinking juice is healthy. But once you remove the fiber from fruit, you're basically drinking concentrated fruit sugar. You could never sit down and eat 4 or 5 oranges at once, but you can drink them in one glass.
Any beverage that is a sugary beverage, get rid of it, okay?
That's the trick. Liquid sugar doesn't look extreme. It doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't fill you up. It just quietly adds up. And most people aren't overweight because of one huge meal. It's the little daily habits, the sweet coffee, the soda with lunch, the healthy smoothie.
All of these liquid beverages is what's leading to insulin resistance. They're leading to elevated blood sugar levels. And I'll tell you, the combination of elevated blood sugar levels and insulin resistance increases your cardiovascular risk significantly and all causes of mortality.
You're not crazy for craving it. It's just designed to be easy to overdo. Moving on, at number 3, we have processed cheese.
It's, I think, hands down, just about the most unhealthy food that people eat, despite the fact that people get hooked on it.
Okay, can we be honest about those orange cheese slices for a second? The ones wrapped in plastic that melt perfectly every single time? Yeah, that's not really cheese.
Real Parmesan Reggiano cheese from Italy is a very pure product with no drugs, one of the most natural cheeses you can buy, which is why it's a premium product. And the way you can tell is the rind itself has the words Parmesan Reggiano embossed in it, always.
Real cheese is pretty simple. Milk, culturing, salt. Then it sits, it ages, it changes over time. That's why real cheese can mold if you leave it too long. It's alive in a way. Processed cheese is different.
If a product has less than 51% of it cheese, they can't call it cheese. They have to call it something else.
What they usually do is take bits of real cheese, sometimes scraps from other batches, melt them down, and mix them with emulsifiers. Emulsifiers are additives that keep fat and water from separating. That's why processed cheese melts so smoothly without breaking or turning oily. That perfect melt on burgers, that's chemistry working. And if you look at the ingredient list, you'll usually see things that aren't in traditional cheese. Extra oils, stabilizers, preservatives. Sometimes artificial coloring is used to get that bright orange look we've all been trained to think is normal.
It is highly addictive because what we have there, we have low levels of casomorphines called basically opiates. And so between the fat, the salt, and the opiates, cheese is, next to chocolate, is probably the most addictive food that Americans eat.
Here's the part that made me pause. Real cheese changes over time. It can harden, it can mold, it can dry out. Some processed slices can sit in your fridge for weeks and look exactly the same. That should tell you something.
What it's actually doing is laying the groundwork for insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, major cancers, and of course, for heart disease.
I'm not saying you can never eat it. Let's be realistic. It tastes good. It melts nicely. It's convenient. But it's not just cheese. It's a reconstructed dairy product designed to behave a certain way, melt evenly, last longer, look consistent. It's food engineering. And once you realize that, you stop seeing it as some innocent little sandwich addition. It's more like a dairy-based formula. Still edible, still common, just not what most people think it is. The next thing we are about to talk about is going to be an uncomfortable one for certain people who are none other than the gym rats. Okay, at number 4, we have protein bars. This one hurts a little, especially if you've ever thrown one in your bag and felt responsible because of that action, because the packaging makes you feel like you're making a smart choice. It says things like 20 grams of protein, low sugar, keto-friendly, and clean ingredients. It looks like fitness. It looks disciplined. But just take a moment to turn to the back. Have you ever actually read the ingredient list?
Most of the protein bars out there, worse than candy bars. Even the ones that claim to be low carb, like the Atkins bars. If you ever read the ingredients, you will be shocked.
Half the time it reads like a science experiment. Soy protein isolate, whey protein concentrate, sugar alcohols, glycerin, maltitol, natural flavors, chicory root fiber, different syrups with names you can barely pronounce and wrap your head around.
A lot of them contain soy protein isolates. You don't want to consume that. First of all, it's GMO. Secondly, it's very estrogenic and it's hard on the liver. It's not the type of soy that even the Japanese or Chinese actually consume. They do fermented soy. They don't do the soy protein powder. Creates a lot of problems for you.
And here's what gets me. If something tastes exactly like a chocolate brownie, is chewy like caramel, and is covered in a sweet coating, it's basically a dessert with protein added.
The biggest surprise for me, and also for a lot of the dietitians who helped us on this analysis, is just that so many protein bars that sound like healthy options are really glorified candy bars. Many of them have more sugar than actual protein.
That doesn't automatically make it bad, but let's call it what it is.
And trying to pick out the worst one, my pick would be this one right here being the worst one. And the reason for that is not just that it's 41% sugar, which is a big problem, but there's also some hidden sugars and some things that are really going to mess up your blood sugars, things that are camouflaged as fiber but are really sugars. So there's really nothing in here.
A lot of these bars are ultra processed. That means they're made from refined protein powders that have been extracted from whole foods, stripped down, and reassembled with stabilizers so they hold their shape on a shelf for months. And those low sugar claims? Sometimes they use sugar alcohols instead, which, by the way, are famous for causing bloating and stomach issues if you eat too much.
In some of the cases, you're actually going to find a protein bar that have a sugar being listed first, right, which means that they have got more sugar in the protein bar itself.
Looking at this, I'm wondering the amount of sugar and sweetness in here, how does it compare to like a donut?
Well, it's a very comparative. So basically you will have pretty much the same amount of sugar that you're going to find in a donut.
Okay, so it's like I'm eating a donut with some protein in it. That's the only difference.
That is exactly right.
That random gassy feeling after a protein bar? Yeah. Another thing nobody talks about is that when food is that easy and compact, it's easy to overeat. You think it's healthy, so you don't mentally count it the same way you would a candy bar.
So if you combine this sugar with the protein, if you watch some of my other videos, you're going to spike insulin way higher than if you consume these separate. So the combination of sugar with protein together exaggerates the spike in insulin. So it's not a weight loss thing.
But calorie-wise, some protein bars are right up there. Again, I'm not saying never eat one. If you're traveling or stuck somewhere, it's convenient. But it's not the same as eating actual whole food. It's a manufactured product designed to look like health in a wrapper. And once you realize that, you stop seeing it as some magic fitness snack and start seeing it as processed food with good marketing. Now finally, at number 5, we have green potatoes. You must be thinking, how can potatoes be green? Well, let's clear that up right now. Have you ever grabbed a potato from the kitchen and noticed it had a green tint, or those little white sprouts growing out of it, and you just cut that part off and kept cooking as if nothing happened?
Also, you know those little sprouts and stems that we commonly refer to as eyes that grow on potatoes? As they age, they contain the same glycoalkaloid. So don't eat the stems, don't eat green potatoes.
Yeah, most people do. But here's what's actually going on. When a potato turns green, it's not just ripening, it's reacting to light exposure. That green color means chlorophyll is forming, which by itself isn't dangerous. dangerous. But here's the part people don't know. At the same time, the potato increases production of something called solanine. Solanine is a natural toxin. Potatoes produce it as a defense mechanism to protect themselves from insects and animals. In other words, when it starts turning green and sprouting, it's basically trying to defend itself from being eaten. That's wild when you think about it. In small amounts, it might not do much, but higher levels of solanine can cause nausea, stomach cramps, headaches, and in more serious cases, neurological symptoms. It's not common, but it's real.
This is an actual nerve toxin that can result in vomiting, diarrhea, paralysis, and even death if ingested in very high amounts.
And here's the tricky part. Cooking doesn't completely destroy solanine. Frying it, boiling it, baking it, it doesn't just disappear, not in your wildest dreams. If the green area is small, cutting it off deeply might reduce the risk. But if the potato is heavily green or covered in sprouts, it's not something you should just salvage. It's not about being dramatic. It's about understanding that the plant is literally shouting, "Don't eat me," and you better not eat it for your own sake. And this one isn't about industrial processing or marketing tricks. It's about food chemistry happening naturally. Sometimes the issue isn't that the food is fake, it's that we don't realize when it has changed. And that's one of the issues. So yeah, this isn't about being paranoid or throwing everything out of your kitchen. It's just about paying attention. A lot of what we eat every day isn't exactly what it looks like. Sometimes it's engineered, sometimes it's heavily modified, and sometimes it's just changed in ways we ignore. Once you know that, you move differently. You read labels, you notice details, you stop assuming, and that's really the point.
Thanks for watching this video, but be sure to check this next video out that's right here.